Absolute climate control, absolutely the best.
How's it going, everyone? Anthony here with Absolute Climate Control. I'm going to be bringing up a very important topic today, and it's something that nobody really talks about. I mean, this is important info to know about your HVAC system in your house. New construction, along with other companies that just want to replace your system or keep repairing your system when you're having issues with it, if you keep having problems with a system, 9 times out of 10 you can trace it back to an airflow issue. Last year we probably did 8 or 9 jobs that were on 2-year-old or less houses that were just built. And what these new construction guys go and do is they throw in a duct system just to get the air out to the rooms. There's no rhyme or reason to it. There's no static pressure, which is a big thing that I'm going to talk about here in a second. None of that. So, customers are calling wondering why they have hot or cold rooms or unequal vents, things like that. If you keep having problems with your heating and air system and it's the same issues every year, you might want to take a step back and think about the airflow issues that you might be having that's causing these problems. Now, the 3 different things that we're going to take a look at today is, the first one is going to be a duct system that has an air distribution box. This box comes off the supply. You usually have a flex duct or something running through this box, and then you have all these runs coming off of this box. What happens is, air is just like water. It's going to take the path of least resistance no matter what. You have, these big vents right here. This is flowing out a good amount of air. The air is coming into this box, circling around, and then flows out to the easiest possible way you can get out of that box. This being, these vents right here, they are bigger. They're producing a lot more air coming out of that vent. This is going into a master bedroom or any bedroom, living room, whatever the case is. You're getting more air out of these 2 vents than you are out of these. Whatever's left over in this box after it forces these out trickles into these other vents that are elsewhere in the house. This is where you get unequal room temperatures. The living room may be warm, but the bedrooms are cold during the winter. Uneven air supply, you put your hand up to it and you feel a lot of air coming out of that vent, but you go into the next room and you barely feel any coming out. This is a big concern when it comes to your comfortability in your house and your airflow around your house. The next one, going back to this, the static pressure on this system, there is no static pressure. There's nothing. Static pressure is big in a duct system because it contributes to how evenly the air is blowing out of your duct system. And we'll get to that in just a second. So this one is a no-go. You don't want that in your home if you're looking for any type of efficiency or any comfortability throughout the whole house. Equal airflow in every single room. This is not going to get you there. This one, we're kind of off to the right start on this. This trunk line is tapering down the way that it's supposed to. It goes from 12 inches to 10 inches to 8 inches here. That is what starts to build up your static pressure in the duct system. At the same time, you have these Ys, and what I mean by that is you have a trunk or a run that comes off of this trunk line that's split into 2. Now that right there does away with all static pressure. You're not going to get any static pressure, not the correct one anyways, by splitting these runs off. And a lot of people are doing that. A lot of companies are doing that. They just run one big flex off of here, split it into 2 smaller flexes, and it really does nothing for your airflow or your hot and cold spots or your static pressure. All this air comes down through here. It's getting smaller so that it's pressurizing in there. But right here at the end, you see it's split off again. There's nothing here to stop that airflow to build that pressure up in that duct system. So this air again takes the path of least resistance. If you have some of these that are curved around, going like that, and you have one that's straight off, it's going to take that straight off run before it takes anything else. And this is another issue. You're not building up static pressure, you're not getting even airflow, and you've got hot and cold rooms. Because these runs that aren't split off are pushing out more air. So, this is also no good when it comes to your heating and air system. We go over here to this one. I built this duct system the correct way. Everything on it is the way that it's supposed to be, but it's undersized, and that's a huge problem here in the upstate. Everywhere we go, over half of our customers have undersized duct systems, and they don't even know it until we get there and see everything. So this is the way it's supposed to be. You have a 2.5 ton duct, or a 2.5 ton system here. This 14-inch comes off. This is all hard pipe. This 12-inch tapers down to 12, or the 14-inch tapers down to 12, and then this tapers down to 10. This builds up pressure. If you can imagine all this air coming in and then it going into a smaller pipe, and then it going into another smaller pipe, it builds up pressure. That static pressure allows this air to flow all the way down without exiting at all. It hits this end cap right here that a lot of people don't have. See, this one was wide off here, but it hits this end cap at the bottom, and that air bounces back. So the air doesn't flow out of this box and into this first supply and into this second supply. It actually bypasses all that, builds up that pressure, and then starts to flow backwards. It comes out of this one first, then this one, and then so on and so forth. But the reason it does that is because it's pressurized. It comes down, it hits that end cap and bounces back, but that allows that to blow as many CFMs in that room or off of that run that it needs. And then it bounces all the way back and comes out each one. And that equalizes the entire house. When the duct system is done this way, it feels like you live in a brand new house. This is a huge problem, and companies don't like to do this because I'll tell you why. It takes a few days to rip everything out and build it the way that it's supposed to be built. It's a little bit more expensive than somebody coming in and just throwing in one of these distribution boxes. And you know, the margins just aren't there for a company to make a lot of money on it. So they don't do it this way, or they throw in, you know, a cheaper way, a much cheaper way that takes a day to do. But here at Absolute Climate Control, we do not do that. We do not go by any of these standards here or here. If you don't have the correct duct system, we're going to let you know about it, and you're going to make the decision whether to do it or whether to not. But I'm telling you, the customers that change their duct system out, this system right here will last a lot longer. You'll have a lot less issues out of it. Your power bills will go down because the efficiency of the unit increases, and the whole house is comfortable and even. Now, you see, I've got this listed as it's good, but it's also undersized. So that's another big issue that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. If you have this duct system, that's all fine and dandy, but if it's undersized for that unit, let's just say you have a 2.5 ton system. A 2.5 ton system requires 1,000 CFMs coming in and going out. And if it doesn't have that, that's another huge issue. What that leads to is on the gas furnace, your heat exchanger can overheat. And if your heat exchanger overheats for, you know, a few years, then it starts developing cracks and a lot of corrosion on it and everything like that. When it develops cracks in the heat exchanger, that's when you start getting carbon monoxide leaking back into your house, and that's dangerous. You don't want that. The compressor starts to go out, premature compressor death, because the flow of refrigerant, if it can't get enough air across this coil to get rid of the hot and cold air that this coil is producing on a heat pump, then your compressor starts to go bad. The blower that's in this unit here, if it can't pull 1,000 CFMs of air through there, then it's suffocating itself and the blower motor starts to go bad. Your higher energy bills when it's undersized, and ultimately premature equipment failure. So A 2.5 ton needs 1,000 CFMs. Right here we have a 14-inch flex that only carries 560 CFMs. If you're only pulling in 560 CFMs and you need 1,000, that's almost half of what that unit is capable of producing. Now we see it all the time. People will come in and say, oh, well, your 2.5 ton system isn't producing the way it's supposed to, or it's running more during the summer, or anything like that. Well, let's just bump it up to 3 ton. We'll put a 3 ton in for you. But these companies don't do anything with this return or this supply. And if they don't do that, then you're not getting a 3 ton system. You're still only getting less than, less than 1.5 tons of air coming to the system. So it's quite inevitable that it only runs as a 3 ton or as a 10.5 system. So upsizing your system doesn't do any good. It's just as bad to go too big as it is too small. But airflow is extremely huge when it comes to these units, and it's extremely huge on your energy bills and the longevity of the system, the efficiency, how many issues you have out of it, everything. So essentially we need to add another return to this one to increase that 560 to be able to pull in 440 more CFMs of air. And then over here, this 14-inch hard pipe only pushes out 750 CFMs of air. It's just as bad. If you bring 1,000 in and you can't push out 1,000, it's the exact same thing. So you need to be able to bring in as many CFMs as you need and push out as many CFMs as it needs to be able to run efficiently. Nobody ever talks about airflow, and there's a few companies out there that will, and they do it the right way. I will say that. But there's a lot more companies out there that will come to your house and tell you need to replace your system. But they can't identify what made the system fail in the first place. If your system was 8 years old and the compressor went out and you're replacing it, I guarantee you it wasn't that compressor's fault. Something behind the scenes was making that compressor fail. And 9 times out of 10, it's this return. Not having enough return air to the system. You know, things change all the time. And if your house is 20, 25 years old, I can pretty much tell you and guarantee you I can walk in your crawl space or go up in your attic and your return is too small or your supply is too small. This is something big that people need to start paying more attention to. If you need to replace your system, you need to ask that guy, that technician, why? What made that system fail? And if he says, I don't know, the compressor just went out, so that's why the system quit working. Tell him to look at the ductwork. Tell him to check the airflow. Here at Absolute, you can get an absolute airflow analysis for $99. We'll come out and check everything, all the airflow that goes into the system and what's coming out, what size system you have, and make sure that it's perfectly fit for that house. And if there's any solutions that can make it better, then we'll let you know. And we'll leave you with that, and you can let us know what you want to do from there. But don't go into the summer thinking that there's a problem with your AC. Check the airflow. Make sure it's not causing the system to go down, because that's the biggest thing that we see around here. I hope I could have given you some insight today on the airflow and how important it is to your home, your comfortability, your energy bills, everything, the system and longevity. And if there's anything we could do to help you here at Absolute, give us a call and let us know. Have a good day.